Hi everybody, this is Noelle for Petitti Garden Centers. We are going to do a spotlight on Mophead and or Bigleaf hydrangeas. So we know them botanical wise as hydrangea, Macrophylla. I'm going to get into it, but there's some varieties that have a few other genetic species in there, so we're going to talk about that too. But that's what we're going to talk about today. Around here in the Midwest, we call these types of hydrangeas mopheads, especially when they have these big, lovely flowers. Their sister basically is the lace cap variety, so you're going to see this type of flower where the true flowers are in the middle and they're tiny little star-like flowers. And then they have these sterile, big petaled flowers on the outside. So that's a lace cap. They are both types of Macrophyllas, okay, or Bigleaf or Mophead. So let's talk about that and how we're going to be successful with this huge family. And there's so much to tell you about today. So first of all, sunlight. A lot of folks are assuming that hydrangeas are a shade plant. They can survive in shade, don't get me wrong. But what they really like is they like 4 to 6 hours of direct sunlight. And if you can get it closer to that 6-hour mark, that's going to be really good. I'll tell you, eastern exposure is going to be awesome for Mophead hydrangeas. They need some of that sunlight to really produce these big flowers. So that's going to be key here. If your hydrangeas are a little bit green, they're not producing a lot, check out your sun. Sometimes we plant things and then everything starts to grow up and starts to shade everything else underneath. And they might be in too shady of a spot. So think about that, 4 to 6 hours of direct sunlight a day. Again, closer to 6, okay? Many of these can take more sun than 6 hours, but it might have to increase your irrigation maintenance. So that's why if you keep it around that sunlight period, that's what they're gonna really like, okay? Next thing is soil. They like, and this sounds like an oxymoron, but we say it all the time, they like well-drained but moist, rich soil, okay? So the key here in the Cleveland area where we are, okay, Northeast Ohio, we have very heavy clay soils unless we're really close to the lake, okay? And so what happens is they can't tolerate that heavy clay soil. You do need to amend it in order to get it to drain better, but also to enrich it, right? So anytime we're gonna tell you when planting hydrangeas, make sure that you are amending the soil. Normally what we do is we dig a hole twice as wide as the pot that it's in right now. Go ahead and put that clayey soil off to the side, and then we're gonna amend it 50-50 with any type of organic matter. It can be compost, it can be sweet peat, it can be planting mixes, it can be manures even, okay? And you're gonna mix that 50-50 mix, and then that's what you're gonna backfill back into the hole, okay? So well-drained, but moist, and nutrient-rich types of soil. That's what they really, really like, okay? No wet feet, no sitting in water. And in our area also, we usually have to plant a little bit higher. So when we do plant, we usually have about 1 inch or 2 of the actual root ball lifted up above the soil surface, okay? So things to keep in mind when you are talking about hydrangeas. Fertilizer is interesting with these plants. They definitely like to be fed. They do need a good amount of nutrition in order, again, to produce those beautiful big flowers. We have a video on this because it can vary. If you want a blue hydrangea, you need to make the soil more acidic. So we will normally recommend that you fertilize this hydrangea twice a season, once in the spring with Hollytone because it's the acidic form of that slow release organic fertilizer. So once in spring with Hollytone and then once in midsummer with Hollytone. If your blue hydrangea is being a little persnickety and doesn't want to bloom for you, you can try applying triple phosphate as well. So do look for those types of things, okay? And you'd apply triple phosphate the same time you'd apply your Hollytone. that spring and that summer. If you're looking to keep a pink hydrangeas like a little bit more neutral or basic soil pH. It all has to do with the soil pH, folks. So you're going to use a neutral plant food. So in that case, we would recommend you using Plant Tone twice a season, once in the spring and once again in the summer. Okay, if that pink hydrangea is not blooming well for you and you think you're getting enough sunlight and everything else is okay, then also apply triple phosphate to help push it into that bloom cycle, okay? Lots of times in our area, our soil tends to be on more of the acidic side, so we can push hydrangeas into blue color pretty easily. It's hard to change them back into pink, okay? So just keep that in mind. And it all has to do with your aluminum in the soil. So if you're trying to get it to a blue color, we can also recommend you using aluminum sulfate in the soil or a soil acidifier to help, again, create that lower pH or more acidic soil condition so you get blue colors. One more note about blue that we've talked about before in other videos is that the brighter the blue, the brighter the pink, okay? So when your hydrangeas have a bright color to them, a vibrant color, they can change back and forth from pink to blue and sometimes purple, okay? If they have more of a pastel color, they're going to be a pastel pink if you're going to try to change them. So those colors will always stay pastel, and the more vibrant colors will always stay more of that rich tone, okay? You can't change a pastel hydrangea. This light blue here is Skyview, I think, and moving Skyview to Blue Jangles, it doesn't work that way. You'll never get this bright blue out of Skyview, okay? So just keep that in mind with your colors. Okay, so that was fertilizer. Then the next thing is we always talk about pruning, and this is key with this type of hydrangea, these Mophead, Bigleaf, Macrophylla types, is that they really should not be pruned in the springtime unless you have the 3 Ds, and I talk about this all the time too, your dead, diseased, or damaged parts on them. That's what you're going to remove in the spring if they have no green growth, if it's dry tips on the plant, but you're seeing new growth push out. Wait for that new growth to push out before you go and start cutting into these plants, okay? And we really don't want you to do that. So it's really, what I recommend is removing the 3 Ds. And then if you want to, you can say to yourself, okay, I'm gonna remove down to the uppermost green growth, and that's fine. And lots of times you have old stems right in the middle of those hydrangeas. They don't have any green growth on them. That means they gotta go. They're dead, they're done doing their job. And so go ahead, go down as low as you can go and remove those, okay? That's the only thing you do pruning wise with Macrophylla hydrangeas, okay? The next thing is when the flowers start to kind of fade a little bit, or you want to cut a flower for a floral arrangement. With Macrophyllas, we really only want you to cut down 2 leaf nodes and then make your cut, okay? So I'm going to show you on this, this is actually Blue Jangles, okay? It's one of our shortest repeat blooming hydrangeas. And Blue Jangles, there's this big blue blossom at the top. And then I'm gonna cut down, I'm gonna just show you 2 leaf nodes. So I have 1 leaf node underneath, 2, and then I'm gonna cut right here above that 3rd leaf node, okay? And that is gonna be a short stem. Don't get me wrong, you really don't wanna cut long stems on the max because you wanna give them energy to repeat bloom through the season. And a lot of these new varieties have that vigorousness so they can continue to bud and bloom for you. So it's always going to be a short stem cut that you're going to make. Just cut right above that 3rd node and you're ready to go. You can take that flower and go ahead and use it how you wish, dry or in a vase or what have you, okay? So that's deadheading. That's the part of the deadheading. If for whatever reason these hydrangeas are getting overgrown, they're just too big for the space, you didn't plan enough spacing around them, that's okay. But the one time that you can really kind of shrink the size of your Macrophylla hydrangeas is actually in July. And I kid you not, July is going to be the best time to do that because they have been blooming and doing their thing. But if you need to reduce that height, that's going to be the time that you do it, because you won't interfere with this plant setting new buds for the next growing season, okay? So key here, and we'll have Taylor put out July, okay? That is if you need to reduce the size of the plant. I'd say 50% is good, but reducing that size, the height, the width, what have you, and trying to just make it a little bit smaller in that spot, you have to do it in July, or you're gonna interfere with the buds and blooms for next year. Okay, so that's pruning in a nutshell. Again, we've got pruning videos on hydrangeas too. After that, I do want to tell you folks that these plants, again, water-wise, they do like water, don't get me wrong, again, but we're talking about well-drained, moist soil. So you're watering when planting these. Do make sure that they get thoroughly watered after planting, and then you're going to maintain 1 inch of water 1 time per week, a slow, deep, thorough watering. If we get really hot in the summer season, you'll see them wilt. You might have to supplement more water for this type of plant. They really do enjoy that moist soil, okay? Moist soil, not wet feet. So watering needs to be very consistent, very deep, very thorough. They're fairly shallow rooted plants. So if the soil heats up in the summer, next thing you know, the roots are going to heat up and you're going to see wilting very, very quickly. So how to counteract that is that thorough deep watering, plus making sure that you're mulching around these plants. That mulch will help keep the soil cool, shaded, the root system shaded obviously, and also help keep moisture from evaporating, okay? So mulch and hydrangeas, really, really good thing. If you want to underplant around the hydrangeas, absolutely. Underplanting companion plants and perennials, wonderful, okay? So astilbes are a great choice. Coral bells are a great choice. Those are plants that would really like those same conditions, not have a problem whatsoever, and would do very nicely shading the roots of the hydrangea, okay? So there we go, keep those in mind too. Okay, let's talk about varieties, and how we arrange them today is really from smallest, believe it or not. Now, sometimes when plants grow in pots, and I've explained this before, they can get a little stretchy and look a little bit different than what they're gonna look like in the landscape, okay? And hydrangeas are not an exception to this. They definitely will do that stretching too, but we have them situated from shortest to actually biggest in the landscape, or tallest, I should say, in the landscape. So we're gonna start out with this one, Blue Jangles. Absolutely gorgeous Let's Dance hydrangea. The Let's Dance family of proven winner hydrangeas are to let you know that they are repeating or remandant type of hydrangeas. They will continue to produce new buds and blooms as often as they possibly can, okay? So these types of hydrangeas, even if they haven't been protected over winter, or winter really cuts them back hard and you have to remove a lot of that dead and dry wood down to the base where you're just seeing new growth come out, that's okay, because they really have great vigorousness. They will continue to grow and bud and bloom for you, okay? So Let's Dance hydrangea. This is Blue Jangles, beautiful, about 1 to 2 foot tall. You can tell it's definitely stretching a little bit, about 2 to 3 wide out in the landscape. Another shorty is gonna be this Endless Summer Popstar. Popstar, you can tell, is a beautiful lace cap hydrangea that can change from pink to blue. So I should have mentioned that. Let's Dance Blue Jangles, yes, it can change from pink to blue, but it likes to be on the bluer side, okay? So it's gonna try to get there on its own, and that's what it's naturally predisposed to. And anytime you have blue in the name of the plant, you're gonna know that they're kind of wanting to be on the blue side, okay? So keep that in mind. Popstar, pink or blue, even a little bit of purple there, really, really pretty, really compact. Both of these plants, being more compact hydrangeas, are the types of hydrangeas that you can grow in containers if you want to. The more compact size, the better they are going to be able to handle that compactness in a container garden. Again, container garden needs to have good drainage and also fairly moist, rich soil. Okay, so keep that in mind. This one here is Wee Bit Grumpy, and Wee Bit Grumpy has been a fan favorite. It's second year for us growing this, but the color is phenomenal. It is really a different color for hydrangeas. I have only seen it in this purpley color, and it is a nice deep kind of violet purple, okay? I've seen it just a little bit of pink, but again, very, very vibrant purple color, very different from the rest of the hydrangea colors. It is really a cool plant. This is a proven winner as well. It's not part of the Let's Dance series, but so far we have seen good bud, production out of this plant. So it seems to be pretty vigorous as far as producing new flowers and growing through the season, okay? I'm blocking the one behind me, and this is one of Angela's favorites. This is actually an endless summer hydrangea, but it's called Summer Crush. And Summer Crush is this deep raspberry color, and I'll tell you, this is where she likes to be, is more on that darker pink side. You can try to change it to the blue side. I've really only seen it more of a purpley color than anything. I've really never seen it go blue, okay? So just keep that in mind. Again, if you're looking for more of the pinks, Summer Crush is a really good option. It again is a more compact hydrangea, but in this pot, it is really, filled out and popped up. So these kind of smaller compact guys right through here are really good options for front of the border, container gardens, that type of thing, okay? Now, next size is about your 2 to 3 foot range, okay? So up in front is the beautiful Sky View. Sky View, and I'm gonna move up here, is really unique. It's new for us this year, but it is a full Mophead. It has these beautiful bicolor flowers where it kind of has like a honeydew green color in the center. And then you get this beautiful pastel blue out of it. I have seen it a little bit pinky. I have seen it a little bit lavender, but for the most part, this is the color that you tend to see out of them with that bicolor. And boy, it is just a powerhouse of blooms. It just keeps on going and going and going. And we had them at the end of the season last year, and they just kept on pushing out buds and blooms like it nonstop, just going into fall, going into cooler temperatures. It just kept on going. So this is a great Let's Dance series. Again, it's called Sky View. It was on the cover of our magazine this year, okay? This one back here, this is a Let's Dance. Oh, I forgot to mention one thing. This plant, Sky View, has some mountain hydrangea genetics in it, okay, which is what we call hydrangea serrata. And what's cool about that is it gives it a little bit better cold hardiness over winter. So this one can really tolerate some cooler temperatures. You won't see as much dieback on a plant like this when it has serrata genes in it, okay? So look for that. This one back here is Let's Dance Ariba, okay? And Ariba is a beautiful, again, repeat blooming because it's a Let's Dance variety. Ariba is it's a pretty flower. I've seen Ariba with some lavenders and blues and just kind of a mixture of colors on the same shrub. But again, 2 to 3 foot, really, really nice, very, very pretty plant. Just gorgeous, really, really nice full heads on that. Okay. In front, this one is our first edition's Eclipse hydrangea, okay? And Eclipse, as you may be aware, is a very unique hydrangea in the respect of the foliage. It is one of the first dark leaf hydrangeas out there. You can see that dark kind of purpley, bronze, almost black foliage is holding really, really nicely. The flowers have a unique cranberry color to them, a little bit of vanilla kind of inside. So they have that kind of bicolor bloom too. Very, very nice. This is made by the same company as your endless summer hydrangeas. and that it's not quite as heavy as a repeat bloomer as your Endless Summer varieties like Summer Crush and the original Endless Summer. But this one still, if you're looking for unique color, especially if you're looking for those dark foliage colors, this would be a really nice variety to put in the garden. Okay. This one in the center is actually Rhythmic Blue. Rhythmic Blue is a Let's Dance series. It is a little bit larger than Blue Jangles. I know it looks deceiving, but it is. It is a beautiful, vibrant blue. Again, wants to be on the blue side, but the first year that we had this in production, they came in pink. So I have seen them in pink. Again, kind of a medium pink. So vibrant blue, medium pink, really, really nice. A little bit taller here with the 3 to 4 foot, okay, over in this area. Bloomstruck. This one is a cool plant. Look at how big this flower is. It is really, really large, multiple stemmed on Bloomstruck. And the other cool thing about Bloomstruck is that it has, if I can get in here, Taylor, it has red stems, okay? So it does strike a different picture out there in the garden. This is a 3 to 4 footer. It can get a little bit bigger than that. But if you're looking for a different, more unique shaped type of hydrangea, it's rounded, but it's also a little bit more upright than most of the varieties. So that's a cool repeat blooming type too. Again, part of the Endless Summer series. So you're gonna have that good repeat blooming genetics. Down below is a new one for us this year. This is a Let's Dance Lovable. Let's Dance series, of course, from Proven Winners. Really pretty plant. The bracts, the petals here are pointed. They come to a point. So it has kind of a cool, sharper look to it with the Mophead. Very, very pretty. This, as far as coloration is concerned, I've seen Lovable with all colors, purples, blues, and pinks all on one shrub. This one is really coming out to a nice medium pink here. So really neat, very reliable bloomer. Very, very nice. Like I said, new. We don't have a lot of information on this one just yet, but we're looking forward to seeing how well it develops throughout the season. But look at all these buds on this plant. I mean, it is filled, so it looks like a pretty vigorous one, like most of your Let's Dance varieties are. This one is one of my favorites, and it is very, very unique. It is a lace cap type, you can tell. This one's called Let's Dance Can Do. What I like about this plant is it is half Macrophylla or Bigleaf hydrangea. It is half mountain or serrata hydrangea. So again, cold hardiness, very unique flowering habit, really, really full and beautiful. And also the foliage changes throughout the season. It gets very dark, gets reds and bronze tones to it. It also starts to curl. And I haven't figured out if that's just natural growth or if it's like it gets a little bit dry, it curls a little bit and then gets watered again. But the curl kind of continues, and into the fall, this plant has phenomenal fall color. It is really a sight to behold. It is just a cool, cool plant. So we'll see if Taylor can flash some fall color up there for you guys, because it's just a really cool plant. So this is Can Do, Let's Dance Can Do. Again, now we're in the 3 to 4 to 5 now. So these are gonna be your bigger varieties over here. In the back, this is the original, so your OG Endless Summer. Beautiful pastel blooms. This was kind of the replacement for the older classic Nico hydrangeas. Beautiful pastel blue color, like what you typically think of when you think of a blue hydrangea. Big, beautiful blooms, gorgeous green foliage, just really, really a beautiful, pretty plant, still holding up out in the landscapes, doing a really good job. Right next to it is a cool hydrangea that, I don't know, you may or may not see. It got a lot of hype when it was younger, when it was first released. This one's called a.k.a. Dreamin'. And a.k.a. Dreamin', if you look at the Mophead flowers, they're large, they're beautiful, but look at these petals. They're super frilly and scalloped on the edges. So they look a heck of a lot different from the rest of these flowers. So if you're looking for a little bit different frilly mophead, this would be a great variety for you. This LA Dreaming right now is mostly blue. LA Dreaming is also known to carry all of the colors on that hydrangea, and it doesn't matter what type of fertilizer you feed them, it's going to develop the pinks and the purples and the blues all on the same shrub. So if you're interested in having that multicolored shrub hydrangea, LA Dreaming might be for you as well. And then the last one that I wanted to show you here, this lace cap is actually called Double Delight's Wedding Gown, okay? And wedding gown, obviously gorgeous, you know, white bloomer for June, perfect for all those weddings that we have at this time of year. And this one with white macrophyllas, you really can't change the color on them, okay? So same thing, I'd probably just feed them plant tone, not worry about it, let them go ahead and go through their bloom cycle. But gorgeous doubled lace cap, so those petals on the outside actually do have several petals in the center. So they're like little tiny rosebuds. And then you do have the, you know, true flowers on the inside, those starry flowers on the inside. For those of you that are looking to attract pollinators with your hydrangeas, guess what? Lace cap varieties are the ones you want. The mopheads, the true mopheads with the thick rounded heads, they don't have any true flowers on them, so pollinators aren't interested in them. So in the same respect, if you don't want the pollinators, obviously you'd go with the regular mophead. But if you want pollinators, go for your lace cap varieties. They're gonna really bring in those pollinators for you. Last part of the Macrophylla hydrangeas, there's always new ones every year, you know, new improved varieties. But if you keep to what we were saying earlier, where you provide them with 4 to 6 hours of direct sunlight, you go ahead and you keep them deeply watered, make sure you're mulching them, make sure they're in well-drained but moist, rich soil. Make sure you're fertilizing them. So with all of these, again, you're fertilizing once in spring with a slow release organic like plant tone or holly tone for the blue. And you do that again in midsummer, okay? And they'll be happy. They'll do their thing for you. If you're really worried about winter damage or anything like that, winter protection is not a bad idea at all. For this family of hydrangeas, especially because they are developing their buds in August to stay on those stems and then flower for the next growing season, okay? So this is my last tip, is that make sure if you really want to have a good blooming hydrangea next year, make sure that you do provide it winter protection. So when it gets cold and we're late in November and the foliage is starting to drop off the hydrangeas, that's when you want to protect them. Mulch heavy around the base, wrap them in burlap, and you'll be ready to go for that winter protection, hopefully keeping those buds nice and protected on those stems. And then when spring rolls around, you can unwrap, you can start pulling away the mulch, and your Macrophylla will look awesome, okay? So everybody, time for hydrangeas. Enjoy.